Hello, hello. So excited to see you here today. We just had some technical issues, and now we're coming in live to you. And happy Monday, my friends. And today I want to bring an amazing and the most phenomenal lady. Her name is Dr. Yvette Best. Yvette, I am so happy you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? Life is amazing because when the challenges are thrown at us, and they are constantly thrown us at us, right? There is things that are sometimes outside of our control. We can just breathe, repivot, shift, and take an action, the best that we do to according to our integrity. So Yvette, today I'm so thrilled to have you and I'm so honored to have you here on the conversation. I really would love for you to share your life lessons today with us and share them through the prism, through the journey of your career. And maybe we could start off. Let's go back, Yvette, to where you were, where you're just coming out of school, coming out of high school, and what dreams did you have for yourself? And maybe
Okay.
walk us a little bit about how it all unfolded, a little bit of step by step. I would love to hear your journey from you.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. Uh, Gosh, going all the way back to high school, that's a long, long time ago for me. But it's interesting because, while I was in high school, actually, I can take it back to middle school. I was introduced to an amazing teacher, and she opened up my love for foreign languages. And so, when I was in high school, I was supposed to do a study abroad program to South America for a year, and that's where I was supposed to spend my senior year. And the program fell through last minute, and I wasn't able to go. But I had already graduated high school as a junior, had not applied to any colleges because I thought I was going to be on this foreign exchange program. And so, that was a one of the first life pivots for me. I
Mm-hmm.
started working at Princeton University part time, and applying to colleges and kind of getting ready for everything that should have happened the year prior, and was accepted to the University of Michigan. And I still had that passion and love for foreign languages, and that's actually how I ended up being a Spanish major while at Michigan. And the intent then was to be a UN ambassador to Spain.
Wow.
I had this whole thing. I was going to major in Spanish. I was going to go over there and be the point person for the US. And as life habits, there was a complete shift. And, once I graduated from college, I actually ended up in teaching. I
Wow.
was at an inner city middle school in Trenton, New Jersey, because I'm from Princeton.
Yes.
And I was teaching Spanish to middle schoolers. And that was kind of my first introduction to teaching, but it was also one of those, yeah, I don't think this is the career for me. And so 2 years after graduation from undergrad, I decided to go back to school for my MBA and attended Rutgers. So, that was a local opportunity there. And, once I got my MBA, I was working part time at Princeton University in human resources in compensation. And that really opened my eyes to the world of HR and all that HR had to offer.
Yes.
I had a great, great mentor at the time, an African American female who headed up uh, human resources at Princeton University, and she really mentored, coached, and counseled me. And I think through her lens and her experience in terms of kind of the challenges that she faced, being the VP of HR in an Ivy League school, and just being a leader of such a prestigious institution, it provided me with some of the things that I kind of lean towards in my career, and that is the coaching, counseling, and mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot be understated how critically important it is.
Wow.
But once I finished grad school in 92, I started working at Merck, and then from Merck I went to YF Airst. Both of those in the compensation realm. And
Mm-hmm.
it was the blizzard of 96 hit.
Oh
And
my.
it was at that time that I decided, you know what, I'm over this snow. And that was the transition to Florida, happened in February of 96. And I've been here ever since. Did leave
Wow.
for a brief stint, but
Mm-hmm.
when I first moved down here, I started working with Tupperware.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Tupperware had spun off from Premark. So I came down
Yes.
as a senior compensation analyst. And on my 1 year anniversary, was promoted to compensation manager. And at that time, I also had relocation under me.
Mm-hmm.
And, because Tupperware is such a global organization, it was more of expatriate
Yeah.
management and, the true global mobility as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to just domestic.
Yeah.
And started to do a little networking and kind of find my feet and find my way through the world of human resources in a truly corporate environment. In such a large global environment, although Merck and Wyeth were the same, but life as it would have it, kind of threw me a curveball, and I was going to become a mother. In May of 2000, I had my daughter, and for me, it was, priorities shifted. I was always
Mm-hmm.
one of those, got to move up the corporate ladder, very focused on career. But having a little person that you're responsible for kind of shifts everything.
Yes.
And I left corporate America for a while and started teaching. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
became a high school, first middle school and then high school math teacher, and did that for almost 12 years. But
Wow.
I never left my first love, and that is,
Mm.
kind of HR. But I did it in a different capacity. And I served as an adjunct teaching the compensation and benefits module for SHRM.
Mm-hmm.
And, that provided me with the opportunity to continue to network, to continue to, keep my pulse on the currency of events within the human resources field.
Yes.
And, from Tupperware, I went to, um, Starwood Vacation Ownership was what they were called at the time. They've had numerous name transitions, but, you know, um, they started off as Vistana, then they were bought out by Starwood, and now they're back to being Vistana Signature Resorts now.
Mm-hmm.
But, that gave me a chance to, really hone my leadership skills, because I became the director of compensation and HRIS at the time. And it's different when you're leading a function as the subject matter expert, as opposed to reporting into someone in that same
Mm.
capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was one of those opportunities that I had a great mentor at the time, a gentleman who used to head up as an SVP in the PepsiCo environment. And he allowed me on the leadership level to blossom and grow and really hone my leadership skills. And for that, I am truly thankful.
Wow.
But at the time they were purchased by Starwood, my position was eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up in teaching. Fast forward to 2013, I decided to return to corporate, or, back to a human resources role, I
Yes.
should say, not necessarily corporate, and ended up, at UCF, University of Central Florida, in their
Mm-hmm.
compensation department. Short stint there, and transitioned to BBA aviation. And, it's one of those things where, you learn to appreciate kind of the role that human resources plays in an organization, but you also
Yes.
learn a lot about people and what they bring to the table, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those dynamics that deal with leaders that are not fully supportive of their staff members, or those leaders that quite frankly feel threatened by the level of intelligence of their team, as opposed to embracing that, knowing that no one leader is going to have a full understanding of everything that's under their area of responsibility.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
and so, that's one of those transitions that, I made out of BBA involuntarily, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, spent some time kind of building my own. I said, now is the time where I should start my own HR consulting. And that's where the birth of, Optima HR and Development Solutions was born in the summer of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's the entrepreneurship thing had its own challenges, because you have the peaks and valleys of you got clients, you have no
Yes.
clients. And so,
Yes.
it's a matter of spreading all of that out. And so, for me, the challenge was, kind of understanding a little bit more about myself. Is this
Mm.
the right environment for me in terms of, working alone? Because I've never considered myself a salesperson. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely do not like that. But as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things that you have to do.
You gotta do it.
And so a few months in, I was like, you know what? It's probably time I start looking at, kind of what else is out there. And
Yes.
quite frankly, I was ready for a change. I had been in Orlando area for 20 something years and didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
that I was growing. And so most of the positions I applied for at the time were outside of the Orlando/Florida area, and
Mm-hmm.
ended up landing in DC. And,
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love DC. It's truly a geographic melting pot,
Yeah.
from all of the dining opportunities, the, things to do in the DMV area, particularly in Washington. When you talk about, all of the museums and just so much to do. But that's also where, from a career standpoint, I got involved with the Greater Washington Employee Relocation Council.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, furthering my network. And, while I was at BBA, I had met quite a few folks on the relocation side. And so I forged a lot of those relationships, that started off as networking and business, that are now, personal relationships and friends.
Yes.
And, I carry those friendships deep within my heart. But, although they're more personal now than they are business, they did start off as business relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so, kind of the message I would give to folks, relative to that networking, because I consider myself an extroverted introvert,
Mm-hmm.
is, to use that time to, kind of build those relationships that might start off as business, but you
Yes.
never know where they can grow. You never know, what
Absolutely.
commonalities you share with, colleagues, third party vendors, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so, some of the closest friends I have right now are those that I met, from a relocation standpoint and from that
Wow.
global mobility arena. After a couple of years, and, the multiple cancer diagnoses and just the culture and environment, I decided that, that workplace was not the right fit for me any longer. Because as a Black female, you often get met with, oh, your tone is to this, or, the subtle microaggressions. And, after a while, that level of stress plays on you. I can only be who I am. It's
Yes.
never meant with any malice, but, I'm always going to speak my truth. And I'm always going to be a supporter of pay equity. I've been in compensation for decades, and, I consider myself the Olivia Pope of compensation, where if it's meant to be for a season, I'm going to go in and fix it, show folks the light, and move on. I
Mm-hmm.
think back to, that last organization that I was with, right after the consulting and before joining Publix. And the, team that I had reporting into me, my senior manager is now the senior director of compensation. And it makes me smile almost daily to know that the coaching and counseling and mentoring and the opportunities to allow her to shine that I provided have
Wow.
opened many, many doors for her. And I'm so proud of, the leader that she's become, so proud of the fact that the executive leadership now saw in her what they didn't see prior to my arrival,
Mm-hmm.
because she was actually the acting director before I
Mm-hmm.
arrived. And so, you never know what that dynamic is going to be when you walk into an environment and you inherit a team,
Yes.
whether or not, it's going to be a fit. And we were a
Mm-hmm.
great fit.
That's
And that's,
awesome.
a similar situation to here at Publix. It's one of those where, you inherit a team. On the compensation side, I inherited 9. On the personnel records side, I inherited 60. And I have to say, I have a great team. And, that's kind of the drive and the motivation that keeps me going. One of the mantras I have is to make sure that you leave an organization better than when you
Mm-hmm.
found it. And so
Mm-hmm.
while, you may not be the long-term fit, because I've said repeatedly, everything happens for a reason,
Yes.
and this could be yet another season. The timing
Mm-hmm.
of the season, I don't know.
Yes.
I just know that there are things that I have to do. What keeps me going and happy and motivated is, my team is learning and growing and developing, and watching, that metamorphosis for them is, motivation for me to continue to do what I do.
Wow. Wow. That I just want to applaud and really cheer you and acknowledge you for giving us such a beautiful picture of aspiring journey. And I admire you so much because at heart I could see that you are just so driven, you are just so dedicated, you are just ready to make a change and make a difference, as you say, finding the organization, which is people, better than you found them. And this is really admirable. And there are different things that stood out in your story, and I think the biggest thing that stood out that I want to touch on where you started is, and I feel where your passion is right now also, is a mentorship. It looks like that you were given that mentorship at a young age. You were given that encouragement. You were given that, almost like pouring a soul into someone. So when you receive that, and it's admirable that, when you receive that, that something ignites in you to then give
Right.
back. And I could see that like a thread throughout your career. So maybe share a little bit of your lessons on mentorship a little bit deeper from the point of receiving. If someone who is tuning in and listening and maybe just graduating, or maybe in college, or maybe just looking for this first job or a second job, how
Right.
important it is to ask for mentorship and receive it. And then maybe the other side of the coin is how important it is to give mentorship.
Right. And that's critically important, Yana, because mentorship doesn't have to be through a formal program within the organization. I've been in
Mm-hmm.
companies that don't have formal mentorship programs, and so it's been that informal mentorship. So someone that you feel comfortable with, because that coaching and mentoring, yes, it has a lot to do with the mentor sharing their knowledge to the protege, but a lot of it is based on relationship building. You have to
Mm-hmm.
feel a connection with that person in order for there to be a real bond. It doesn't always have to be someone that's in your same career field, but someone with whom you respect, whether or not it's, how they got to the leadership role that they have within their organization, even if it is in a different functional area. Understanding the importance of networking. I said earlier that I consider myself an extroverted introvert, and that is the true. And so, folks who know me who are listening are probably like, yeah, doubtful on the introvert. But it's true. If I'm not feeling comfortable, I can walk into a room and walk out not knowing a single name. But if I'm feeling that level of comfort, then I'm going to, move from circle to circle, and, kind of inject myself in conversations so that, I kind of introduce myself to folks and get to know people in the room. And, if there's one piece of advice I have for not only the graduating college student, but I would say that high school student, that middle school student as well, is to step outside your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
If you know at an early age what it is you want to do, what it is you want to be going forward in the future, look for people within your church, look for people within your community, involve yourself in community activities surrounded around um, the types of things that you aspire to do in the future. Once you establish yourself in that professional career, again, it doesn't have to be a formal mentoring or coaching
Mm-hmm.
program that gets you that mentor. Sometimes it's going to be you reaching out to that individual that you look up to, and someone that you feel comfortable with and sharing what your interests are, what your desires are, and how they can support you in that. um, you know i I think back to the mentors that I've had throughout the career, throughout my career. I mentioned the VP of HR from Princeton University. I've mentioned the SVP of HR from Vistana, but there was also the director of Comp Ben and HRIS at Tupperware.
Mm-hmm.
She and I ended up having, a personal relationship as well as a professional relationship, because she provided me with, not only, you know, mentoring in terms of how to navigate the field of compensation, but
Mm-hmm.
how important it was to the organization and how important it was that I understood the business of the company in order to understand what compensation programs one puts in place. And
Yes.
so one of the messages that she gave to me early on when I first started reporting to her was, never stop learning. There's
Mm.
always something to learn in your field, in your functional area. And that has stuck with me for years. Unfortunately, years ago she passed, but a lot of the conversations that she and I had have legitimately stuck with me. And it's not to say that every single conversation or every single mentor relationship is going to be one where you're only told the good and the positive. Sometimes some of those relationships can be contentious because you
Mm-hmm.
want someone who's going to provide not only the positive feedback, but
Mm-hmm.
the difficult feedback and some of those criticisms that are going to help you grow and develop personally and professionally.
I
And,
love
for
that.
that, I respect that. And,
Mm-hmm.
that honestly has been one of the kind of driving forces around how I manage my team, how I lead my teams is, we can have that personal relationship, but when it comes to business, business is business. And I will correct you if there's something that, needs correcting.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to provide you with opportunities that stretch you beyond what you think you can do. And I think that's why I've always had a good rapport with, my direct reports, is because I do provide those opportunities for visibility that they may not have had before. I do provide those opportunities for increased learning. I do push you beyond what you think you can do. And that's just who I am. It comes second nature to me. Most recently in my career, I haven't had that, uh, you know, mentoring and coaching and counseling. And so, I kind of fill myself with what my team
Mm-hmm.
needs, and,
Mm-hmm.
grow and develop from that perspective. And so, if you find yourself in an environment where you're not connecting with anyone from whom you can, learn, grow, and develop from, that's okay. Try to pour your energy from a coaching standpoint into someone else, recognizing that it's sometimes more important to bring folks up than for you to elevate yourself. And that's kind of where I'm
Wow.
at this point in my career.
I love this. I really, truly love your heart and this sense of giving yourself to help others rise, and that is admirable, Yvette. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's so valuable. And what I also love about your journey is relationship, and you mentioned that numerous times through the mentorship, but also through building the professional relationships,
Um,
stretching out a little bit beyond what your regular circle is at work, finding out the organizations that you could serve, finding out where you can volunteer, and then being open to build those relationships. And interestingly enough, they do come and they do build more of a personal a connection circle beyond the initial
yeah.
professional circle, so to speak. So maybe what are your tips for the introverted extroverts to that really kind of feel okay, it's not my comfort zone, I'm not sure, and right now it's a little bit more awkward because we're somewhat of a you know,
Right.
combined in this virtual environment where it may be a little bit more awkward to reach out to people and build those relationships. What would be your advice?
You know, the pandemic has, its pros and cons, for those of us who are not as comfortable being in person, the virtual still provides an opportunity to get to know folks. Whether or not it's, a Zoom session that's a large group or a Zoom session that has breakout sessions, you still have the opportunity to get to know uh, and learn and grow. Now, when you talk about managing people in this environment, when a lot of folks are working remote and you have that distance between you, there's still an opportunity to kind of get involved with your team, whether or not it's on one of your meetings. You have kind of get to know your team, where in advance of the meeting you have your team submit kind of 3 to 4 truths, and you play this game where the rest of the team reads the items and gets to know a little bit about their peers, but then guessing the one item that is not correct. And so there are opportunities for getting to know one another, even in this distant and remote environment. But I think the work has to be on the person to really want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We have to step outside of our comfort zone. And I think oftentimes we say, oh, but I don't want to because, and you're not going to grow. Think of it in terms of the growth and a continuous growth mindset. If you want to really be at that next level, whatever that next level is, and oftentimes we think of that next level as a vertical shift. Sometimes you can be at the next level with a horizontal shift as well. And whatever the that shift is for you, recognizing that you're going to have to step out your comfort zone to make that move. And change is difficult for everyone. And so recognizing that change and understanding what it's going to take for you to be able to make that move, I think kind of helps with getting ready to take that first step.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that it's not going to be comfortable, knowing that it's going to be somewhat uneasy, somewhat awkward. But at the end of the day, think about, some of the folks that are closest to you. How did you meet that person? You weren't always friends. So was it a situation where you were stuck in an elevator together and you just
Mm-hmm.
clicked? Was it a situation that you were in class and had to serve on a team project with this person and you two
Mm-hmm.
just kind of naturally rose as leaders? Or was it a work situation where they were in a totally different functional area, but you had to work with them in order to get your job done? Getting to know folks outside of your comfort zone is critically important for that ongoing growth mindset. And so if there's one piece of advice that I would have for that is headed off to high school, or the college student that has graduated and is now headed off to their first career professional job, at the end of the day, it's have your sights set on what it is you really want, and be
Mm-hmm.
able to step outside your comfort zone,
I
make the
love this.
change.
I love
And
this.
recognizing that change isn't easy, you're going to have to make change in order to make moves.
That is so amazing, Yvette. And with this last that you mentioned, the change is inevitable. The change is going to happen, and and I could see
Uh-oh,
that
Yana,
being.
I've lost sound.
You've lost my sound. Okay.
I can't hear you.
Oh
No.
no. Oh no, we are going some kind of technical problems here. We're going to overcome it. Let's see. How about now? I can still hear you. No, now you can hear me.
I can't
Oh
believe it.
no. It is amazing. Yeah, we're gonna
Uh,
persevere through this.
let's
I can
see.
still hear you. All right, Yvette, my dear Yvette.
Okay, what about now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We had such
No.
a good.
I can hear you. Yes, I
You can
can
hear
hear
me.
you. Yes, but
I
now
cannot
you
hear
can't
you.
hear me.
How
Even
unfortunate.
how unfortunate. We are going to just, we're going to just accept it. Um, let's say that, Yvette, my friend, we are going to have one more conversation. Let's accept it. It is okay. It's okay, tech stuff. We will meet again. We will meet again, okay? That is right. But I can hear you, Yvette. I can hear you. Maybe share your last thoughts. Share your last thoughts. And then we can say, yeah, I can hear you. You could share with us. Last tips. Yes.
Well, uh, my last thoughts, and because we're clearly having some tech issues, so last thoughts on this in terms of understanding your career and professional journey. If I had to sum it up in a couple of sentences, it would be: continue to network, continue to share a little bit of who you are, whether or not that's through coaching, counseling, mentoring. I find those to be critically important. But, while you give to others, never forget to take time for yourself. And for me, in my personal journey, that has been critically important, is the self-care. And so I think we make such a habit of giving so much of ourselves that we forget to take care of ourselves. And, for me, that's a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, admittedly. But live each day like it's your last. Enjoy the journey, whether or not that's your personal journey, whether or not that's your professional journey, and recognize that along the way there will be some bumps, there will be some turns. Your GPS may not be working, but continue to navigate this thing called life, and recognize that every adventure that you go on, the steps that you take along your journey are all meant to be. He does not put more on us than what we can handle. And so while it may not always be, peaches and cream and roses, at the end of the day, those valleys only get us to greater peaks. And, for that, I'll make those my closing words to you. Yana, I wish I could hear you, but I appreciate this opportunity to
Thank you.
share, particularly as we close out this Black History Month. I appreciate the opportunity to just talk to the world.
Thank you
And thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much, Yvette. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Wow, wow, wow. I am so touched. I am so honored, and hey, it's life. It's a tech problems, it's a issues. And that's okay. This is life. And exactly what Yvette shared, things gonna come our way, things gonna shatter us or shake us or challenge us. Things will challenge you, my friend. And step back up and persevere in spite of challenges, in spite of difficulties, in spite of hardships. I want to encourage you. Let's persevere. Let's stand strong. Let's move forward being resilient. And be kind to yourself along the way, along this journey, whether it's personally, professionally. Be kind to yourself. Have a little bit fun. Have empathy towards yourself. Cheer yourself today. Cheer yourself today, my friend. I do want to close this amazing Black History Month, just recognizing that, and so many of my wonderful friends that have impacted me on such a deep level, that I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for you today, my friend. And I want to challenge you and encourage you. Let's keep powering each other and keep powering Unique You, my friend. I see you soon.